Okay, I know I promised the recipes, but oh my god, they are so hard to copy down. Anyway, I don't think I'll do that. I'm sorry. Okay, also, for the next book after this, I'm not quite sure what I want to do yet. So I'll choose a book. I guess I'll just have to go to my channel and look and see for the next one. I might choose a different book for my bookshelf, or I'm yeah, we'll see. Anyway, let's get started. It's almost a minute in. Chapter 24: The Return of Poppy Pendle. There seemed to be an awful lot of birds that were fluttering about town. The air was full of singing, and Charlie noticed that all the birds on the telephone wire were now hopping about in a delirious frenzy. "You would think it was the first day of spring," P.C. Pluckett's partner commented. His name was P.C. Nobbs, and he kept staring about in bewilderment. "Something seems different," he said in a puzzled tone, "but I can't put my finger on it." A cat darted out in front of them, chasing its tail in circles. Squirrels raced up and down trees, and a family of ducks flapped about the sky as if they couldn't decide in which direction to fly. Charlie, holding on to P.C. Pluckett's warm, sweaty hand, led the police officer straight to Mary Claire's patisserie. She walked fast because it was embarrassing to hold hands with policemen, and she didn't want anyone to see her. "She's here?" P.C. Pluckett said in disbelief. "You know, harboring a fugitive is a serious offense." "Oh, no," Charlie giggled, shaking back her frizzy mass of hair. "I just wanted to bring Mary Claire along with us. She's a close friend of Poppy's, too." "We've been trying to get a hold of Miss Mary Claire Gentile for questioning, too," P.C. Pluckett remarked, banging on the glass door. He gave Charlie a suspicious look. "It seems you both know rather a lot about Poppy Pendle." Mary Claire was happy to accompany the police officers and Charlie, especially when Charlie mouthed the word "goose" at her and scrunched up her face in what was clearly an expression of joy. Mary Claire even agreed to hold P.C. Pluckett's other hand. "What a beautiful day it is," she declared, exchanging knowing smiles with Charlie. "The birds seem awfully cheerful." "That's just what I was saying," P.C. Nobbs agreed eagerly. "I wonder what's making them so noisy." "Well, now, would you look at that!" P.C. Pluckett exclaimed, coming to an abrupt stop as they reached the top of the canal path. Shining in the sun, all white enamel and polished chrome, was the oven. "Who would throw away a cooker like that?" he asked. "It looks like it's in excellent condition." "Peculiar," P.C. Nobbs agreed, scratching at his head. "It's more than peculiar, it's downright suspicious. And look at all this food," P.C. Pluckett remarked. "Bags of flour and sugar, bars of chocolate, eggs." He grimaced after stepping on a dozen. "I'll get to the bottom of this later," he said, wiping gooey yolk off the bottom of his shoes. "I hope you know where you're leading me, Miss Monroe, because we don't have all day to waste marching about the countryside." "Right there," Charlie said, pointing at the abandoned cottage. Except it didn't look all that abandoned. Smoke was coming out of the chimney, and the yard appeared to be swarming with animals. A red-tailed fox was lying in the sun, and grazing beside it was a speckled roe deer. Rabbits and squirrels darted about in the long grass, and perched on all the tree branches were noisily singing birds. Even the canal was busier than usual, as a family of ducks and two regal swans floated by. "Are you sure Miss Pendle's inside?" P.C. Pluckett asked. "I believe this area's been searched already." "Absolutely certain," Charlie confirmed. "I saw her just yesterday." "Then I ask you all to stand back, please, because she's armed and dangerous. This is a matter for the police." P.C. Pluckett clambered over the stone wall and stood with his shoulders pulled back, surveying the cottage. "Get down!" he suddenly yelled, grabbing for his truncheon as a rustling noise came from behind the holly bush. Out crawled P.C. Flower, looking dazed and slightly sick. He stood up and stumbled around as if he'd just gotten off a spinning ride at the fair. "She's in there! Found her!" he stammered. "Flower, are you all right?" P.C. Pluckett called out. "What on earth is going on? Where have you been, man?" He glanced back at Charlie and Mary Claire, as if they might have the answer, but the two of them simply shrugged. "Wild, crazy eyes!" P.C. Flower wailed softly, picking a holly leaf out of his hair. "She's insane. She's terrifying. We need more reinforcements." And that's when the front door was flung open, sending P.C. Flower scurrying back behind the holly bush with a panicked cry. "You're under arrest!" P.C. Pluckett shouted bravely, huddling down in the tall grass. "I thought I heard voices," Puppy Pendle called out, leaning against a broomstick. Her hair hung in two tidy braids, and her hair had been scrubbed so clean it was as pink and polished as a rosy apple. Puppy's eyes sparkled. "I was just making crepes in the fireplace if anyone would care to join me." "You're under arrest," P.C. Pluckett repeated, scrambling up and marching toward the house. P.C. Nobbs followed him. "We're coming in." "Yes, please do," Poppy said, waving at Charlie and Mary Claire. "Everyone's invited, and I'm so sorry I scared you," Poppy said, putting her hands on her knees and calling over to the holly bush. "I honestly didn't know what I was doing. Please come out and have some crepes, won't you?" P.C. Flower's face appeared, looking more perplexed than ever. He gave a frantic shake of his head and darted quickly out of sight. "Hand over the broomstick," P.C. Pluckett instructed, holding his truncheon aloft as he stepped inside the cottage. "And no funny business." "It doesn't sweep very well, I'm afraid," Poppy apologized, "but you're welcome to have it. I only wanted to tidy up in here, but the bristles aren't really designed for sweeping." "This will be held as evidence," P.C. Pluckett said, "and you'll no longer have a license to fly. Your learning permit has been cancelled." "Really? That's great." Poppy looked pleased. "You mean I never have to get on a broomstick again?" "Magic wand as well, please," P.C. Pluckett barked. "From this moment on, you are not, under Yorkshire law, allowed to practice witchcraft." "Hooray!" Poppy shouted, tossing the spotty-faced policeman her magic wand. "What happens if someone tries to make me?" she added as an afterthought. "What if I'm given a new wand?" "You are banned from the practice of magic forever," P.C. Pluckett said in his gravest voice. "Yay! I'm free!" Poppy cried out, skipping over to Charlie and Mary Claire, who were wandering around the cottage in amazement. All the cans and twirly bar wrappers had been swept into a corner, and a small fire was burning in the hearth. On top of it rested a wide, flat stone, and besides the fireplace was a glass measurement jug of thick, creamy batter. "Miss, are you Poppy Pendle?" P.C. Pluckett seemed confused. "Puppy Pendle of 10 Pudding Lane?" He was opening and closing a pair of handcuffs, as if he didn't quite know what to do with them. "Yes, that's me," Poppy answered. "Then just hold out your hands because you're under arrest." Just at that moment P.C. Pluckett's telephone started to ring, and he patted his pockets in a fluster, trying to find it. "P.C. Pluckett speaking," he said a little breathlessly. "Oh, yes, sir, we have, sir. I'll be bringing her in shortly, and we've recovered P.C. Flower safe and sound. It appears he had some sort of nasty shock, but we can't get much out of him. A nice hot bath and some chicken soup should do the trick." There was a long pause on P.C. Pluckett's end while he listened at length to whatever the other person had to say. When he hung up he looked even more confused. "That was Officer Kibble," he announced. "It appears P.C. Crud and P.C. Nettle are no longer made of stone." "Fantastic!" Mary Claire and Charlie shrieked, together throwing themselves on Poppy. "I knew you could do it," Mary Claire whispered, squeezing both girls in a tight hug. "What about the workers at Super Savers?" P.C. Nobbs inquired. "The stock boy and the manager?" "All back to normal, although," and here P.C. Pluckett lowered his voice a notch, "it seems Mrs. Smeggs, the manager's wife, is not too happy about that. She told Officer Kibble she preferred her husband being stone. Much easier to take care of, apparently." "So you won't be needing those," Mary Claire said, pointing at the handcuffs that P.C. Pluckett was still playing with. "I mean, you can't arrest Poppy for a crime that doesn't exist anymore." P.C. Pluckett pondered this for a moment, and then he said gruffly, "There's still the matter of stolen food." He pulled out his notebook and flipped over a few pages. 18 cans of mystery meat stew, 24 boxes of twirlies, and 32 packets of fudge monkeys. That was me, I'm afraid, Poppy confessed. And when you put it like that, I'm just horrified. Was it really 32 packages of fudge monkeys? 32, P.C. Pluckett repeated, snapping his notebook closed. It appears all the evidence is over there, P.C. Nobbs added, nodding at the pile of rubbish Poppy had swept into the corner. Well, it certainly is a terrible crime I've committed, Poppy agreed. Anyone who eats 24 boxes of twirlies and 32 packets of fudge monkeys should be locked up for life. I've no offense, I'm afraid, except to say I must have been out of my mind. You were out of your mind, Mary Claire defended stoutly, but if you repay the store for the food you took, it's not a jail sentence. She glared at P.C. Pluckett. Oh, we'll give it all back to Super Savers, every penny, Poppy reassured him. Only it might take me a while to get my bakery up and running. You're really going to start a bakery? Charlie said, her cheeks flushed pink with excitement. Mary Claire's serious about living here with me, Poppy said, cutting a shy glance in her direction. I can't do this alone. You don't have to, Mary Claire whispered, and her eyes glistened brightly with tears. You don't have to. There is the small matter of Mr. and Mrs. Pendle, P.C. Pluckett mentioned, picking at one of his spots. Poppy is a minor, and she cannot leave home without their permission. Then I will get it, Mary Claire said boldly. I shall sort this all out so everything is legal. Don't you worry, Officer Pluckett. And what about school? P.C. Pluckett asked. Oh, no, Poppy groaned. I can't bear it. Just the thought of Rutherford makes me feel sick. I never want to go back there again. You don't have to, P.C. Pluckett informed her. You've been expelled, I'm afraid. In fact, Miss Roach has requested that you never set foot on Academy grounds again. Yay! Poppy and Charlie screamed, hugging each other and jumping up and down. Which still leaves the question of schooling. You're very much a minor, Miss Pendle, and some sort of education will be required. Can I go to elementary school with Charlie? Poppy suggested. I could bake in the afternoons and help out on weekends until I'm old enough to take over. That seems like an excellent arrangement, Mary Claire said, trying to hustle a policeman out of the cottage. So is there anything left to discuss? I do have one last question. P.C. Pluckett shuffled his boots about in embarrassment. Will you be selling those chocolate cookies that melt in your mouth when you open your new bakery? His face flushed, tomato sauce red. I loved those cookies, he sighed, closing his eyes for a moment. You made them once at Patisserie Mary Claire. I didn't make them, Mary Claire explained. Poppy did, so we have to ask her. Thursdays, Poppy said with a smile. I shall make them every Thursday. And P.C. Pluckett looked delighted. Those were the best tasting cookies I ever had, he admitted. They cheered me right up even after Officer Cribble had been shouting his head off at all of us. P.C. Pluckett fiddled with his badge for a moment and then said, If you ever want my mom's brownie recipe, I'm sure she'd give it to you. They're the fudgy kind. She makes them when it rains as a bit of a treat. Oh, that would be lovely, Poppy said. There's nothing nicer than a good squidgy brownie. Poppy asked if the policemen wanted to stay for crepes, but they said they had better be going. More criminals to catch, P.C. Pluckett joked, winking at Poppy. And I'd better get poor old P.C. Flower home. Waved her magic wand in the air and said, How do you use this thing anyway? You can't unless you're magic. Won't you miss it at all? P.C. Pluckett couldn't help asking. Nope. Poppy gave a decisive shake of her head. Lying on a broomstick makes me feel sick, and I'd much rather make cookies than potions. She gave P.C. Pluckett the full benefit of her most dazzling smile. This is the happiest day of my life so far, Poppy told him, and it's only just begun. Chapter 25. A Bit of a Stony Problem. The little terrace house on Pudding Lane had a sad, abandoned look about it. Weeds had overtaken the front garden, and the milkman obviously hadn't been getting the message that no one was home. There were about 30 full milk bottles clustered around the doorstep. Mary Claire gave a brisk knock on the front door, but after she'd waited a while and knocked again, it was clear that no one was going to answer. Perhaps we should just leave, Poppy said. They obviously don't want to see me. I let them down. They're never going to forgive me. Well, they're in, Mary Claire pointed out. I can see them through the kitchen window. Poppy followed Mary Claire's gaze and felt her knees go weak and start to buckle. That was just how she left them. "Please, let's go," Poppy pleaded, but it was too late. Nosy old Maxine from next door was trotting eagerly up the path. She had on bedroom slippers, a dressing gown, and her hair was full of rollers. "The police are looking for you," she exclaimed, gasping for breath, before she could utter another word. Mary Claire smoothly broke in. "Everything is under control now, so if you'd be kind enough to open the door for us. You earn a great deal of trouble, Poppy Pendle, a great deal." "All sorted out, actually," Mary Claire said. "I suggest you go and call the police station. They'll be able to give you the details. Ask to speak to P.C. Pluckett. He's in charge of this case." "I know who P.C. Pluckett is," Maxine said suspiciously, getting out her key and opening the Pendle's front door. She was about to step inside, but Mary Claire slipped by her fast and stood in the doorway, her arms folded across her chest. "Thank you, that'll be all." With an aggrieved sniff, Maxine spun around and marched off down the path. "I'll be calling P.C. Pluckett right away," she threatened, "so let's hope what he told me is true." "Come on," Mary Claire whispered, reaching for Poppy's hand. "That woman is an old busybody. Let's get this over with before she comes back." The house was too quiet, and Poppy sensed, even before she entered the kitchen, what they would find. "Mon Dieu!" Mary Claire cried out softly, staring at the two stone figures. "They have not changed back." She turned to look at Poppy as if searching for an answer. "How can this be?" "I don't know." Poppy gave a nervous shrug. "But everyone else is just fine," Mary Claire murmured, stepping up to Miss Pendle and touching her stone hand. "Perhaps you're still angry with him," she suggested. "Perhaps he had more fury behind this particular spell than the others." "I'm not angry any more," Poppy whispered, putting her arms around her father's waist. It was so much easier being with her parents when they couldn't talk back. She looked over at her mother's anguished face, full of pain and heartache, and Poppy wished that she hadn't disappointed them so. Life would have been completely different if only she'd wanted to be a witch. "Maybe they're still mad at me," Poppy said. "What about that, Mary Claire? Perhaps they have to stop being angry as well?" "I don't know," Mary Claire sighed. "I just don't know. But the question is, what shall we do with them both? We really can't leave them here. It doesn't seem right." "No, and they're still my parents," Poppy acknowledged, trying not to look at the space where the oven used to be. She could feel herself starting to get mad again. Taking a deep, calming breath, Poppy said, "Let's bring them with us. That solves the problem, doesn't it? They can come live in the cottage, or outside might be better," she added quickly. "The cottage is rather small." "Yes," Mary Claire nodded her approval. "We'll find just the right spot for Edith and Roger, and I'm sure Charlie's father'd be happy to give them a ride over in his truck." "Oh, he doesn't need to do that," Poppy grinned. "I can carry my mum and dad." "They're solid stone," Mary Claire pointed out. "You couldn't possibly lift one of these, let alone two." "Watch me," Poppy said, picking up Roger under one arm and Edith under the other. She could see through the window that nosy old Maxine was hovering about in her front garden, raking up some non-existent leaves and glancing over at their house every few seconds. Poppy hesitated a moment, and then headed toward the back door. "It might be better if we go out this way," she suggested, hitching Edith up a bit and trying not to let her slip. It was hard to get a good grip around her mother's waist. Thank goodness it was a Sunday afternoon, and most of Potts Bottom's residents were either there slumped in front of their televisions watching football or finishing up a Sunday lunch. The streets were deserted and a powerful smell of roast meat hung in the air. "Careful!" Mary Claire said, steadying Poppy as she tripped and stumbled forward, almost dropping her parents on the ground. "You don't want to break them now." "No, that wouldn't be a good idea," Poppy agreed, slowing down her pace. Her shirt had come untucked, and she could feel her socks slipping, but it was hard not to skip when she felt so happy. "Have you always been this strong?" Mary Claire said. "Ever since I was a baby," Poppy grinned. "Must have been the almond cakes you gave me when I was born." Well, those are good, but they're certainly not full of any special powers. Mary Claire laughed. My guess is that sort of strength comes from being magic. Yes, Poppy sighed wistfully. They can take my wand and broomstick, but they can't take away my magic. You shouldn't want them to, Mary Claire said with force. It's part of who you are, a big part. That's what makes you, you, she said, stabbing at the air with her finger. Poppy opened her mouth to say something, but Mary Claire hurried on. We can't change who we are, Poppy, but we can choose what we do. Poppy thought about this for a moment, and then shaking back a clump of hair, she burst out, Well, I choose to be a baker. It sounded so good that she said it again and again, shouting the words louder and louder each time. I choose to be a baker. Good choice. Mary Claire smiled. Really good choice. Chapter 26. Happily Ever After. Poppy's opened for business on May 3rd, the day Poppy turned 11. It had taken almost a year to renovate the bakery, but it was the best birthday present Poppy had ever had. Mary Claire moved out of the patisserie and for an embarrassing small sum of money had purchased the little cottage down by the canal. With a great deal of help from P.C. Pluckett, who couldn't wait for the bakery to open, Charlie's dad had put on a new roof and replaced all the windows. In fact, P.C. Pluckett proved to be excellent with a hammer. He hung drywall, built a new set of stairs, and in return Poppy promised to save him a dozen chocolate meltaways every Thursday. Best of all, P.C. Pluckett tactfully didn't mention the fact that two life-sized stone statues looked remarkably like Edith and Roger Pendle had been positioned on either side of the bakery's front door. It was clear that Poppy Pendle had come back from the dark side, so why make a fuss? That was most people's opinion. Even Auntie Viv didn't seem to mind. She and nosy old Maxine drank coffee and gossiped together now most mornings, ever since Viv had moved into the house on Pudding Lane. Did seem a shame to waste all that lovely space with no one living there any more, and her little flat was the size of a postage stamp. So life unfolded into a comforting routine, and one that Poppy looked forward to from the moment she woke up. When Mary Claire was still sleeping, Poppy would start the bread doughs and croissants. She loved the quiet of early morning and the peace and tranquillity of the canal drifting by. Soon the little kitchen would be filled with the sweet, yeasty scent of baking, and when the wind was blowing from the south, people claimed to be able to smell Poppy's fresh breads right across town. There was always a line waiting outside the bakery before it even opened, and visitors at the pot's bottom often asked for directions to the place that smelled so good. Every morning before leaving the bakery, Poppy would hang an open sign around her father's neck and bid him a cheery hello. He always looked back at her with the same startled expression, as if he had just seen something unbelievable. She liked to tell her parents what the day's specials were, just to keep them involved, and she was sure that on coconut cupcake Mondays the corners of her father's mouth sometimes twitched. Then, with a bright smile and a wave to Mary Claire, Poppy would skip off to meet the school bus. At 6 o'clock, when the bakery shut for the evening, Poppy hung the close sign round her mother's neck, trying to avoid looking too closely at the tragic stone face. There was something rather disturbing about her angry, bug-eyed stare, and the enormous mouthful of food Edith Pendle still appeared to be chewing. Charlie had spent as much time visiting Poppy as she could, but she liked to get home before dark to feed her goose. He had made a permanent home under the old apple tree in Charlie's garden, and continued to be an excellent eater, gulping down muffins and gingerbread, and even the odd grilled cheese sandwich. Sometimes when Charlie walked down to the bakery, her goose would waddle along behind. While she helped serve customers or watched Poppy invent a new cookie recipe, her goose would go for a quick swim in the canal. As soon as he saw Charlie wave goodbye, though, he flepped out of the water, gave his feathers a brisk shake, and scuttled after her with a series of excited honks. One Wednesday, a few months after the bakery had opened, Miss Roach appeared in the shop. Ducking down behind the counter, Poppy held her breath and hoped she hadn't been seen. "Hello, Poppy!" Miss Roach greeted loudly, and Poppy scrambled to her feet with a sheepish smile. "I see you have some nice stone outwork out front," she said, and before Poppy could answer, she pointed to the last 10 caramel cookies. "I'll take all of those, please." "Yes, Miss Roach," Poppy mumbled, putting the cookies into a box. She waited for Miss Roach to say something more, but the headmistress didn't. She took her cookies and left. The next week, though, an order came in from Rutherford for 10 dozen caramel cookies to be delivered to the school every Wednesday. At the bottom of the order was a note from Miss Roach. It said, "These were the best cookies I've ever eaten. Your great-grandmother Mabel is a wonderful witch, and you are a wonderful baker." And Poppy's parents? Well, they stood outside the shop for 2 whole years, watching the people of Potts Bottom come and go. There was always a steady stream of customers to look at, and sometimes people would greet them by name. "Hello, Edith," or "How's it going, Roger?" they called out, giving the stone statues a friendly pat on their tummies. In the winter months, Poppy dressed her parents in woolly hats and scarves, and they became a popular target for snowball throwing practice. As soon as the weather turned nice, Poppy liked to sit on the steps between them, munching chocolate croissants and chattering away about new recipe ideas. On Poppy's 13th birthday, when she went outside to hang the open sign on her dad's neck, she was surprised to notice that he blinked. That was all at first. A blink here, a blink there, then his mouth started to move. The first thing he said was, "I'm hungry," so Poppy fed him warm pieces of chocolate butter bread, and it wasn't long after that that he began to move. He was more than a little stiff to begin with, but Poppy greased his joints with the best Normandy butter, and quite soon he was parading about with an enormous smile plastered on his face. "I'm sorry about Mum," Poppy apologized to her dad, because Edith Pendle was still as cold and hard as a Yorkshire paving stone. "Oh, she'll come around," Roger Pendle said brightly, and she did, but it took her another 2 years. It was Poppy's 15th birthday when Edith Pendle finally opened her mouth and spat out the remains of the twirly bar. "Ugh!" she grimaced. "That tastes disgusting." "Mum!" Poppy cried out, giving Edith Pendle a hug. She was still a little cold and hard to the touch, but Poppy could feel her mother's heart beating away. "Beloved Poppy, whip up a batch of this fabulous homemade twirlies you bake on Mondays, would you?" Edith Pendle smiled at her daughter and added, "I see now that you were born to be a baker." Poppy was happy to oblige, and the rest, as they say, is history. Poppy lived all her life in the little cottage bakery down by the canal. The picture of great-granny Mabel was moved from the house on Pudding Lane and hung on the shop wall above the counter, right next to Poppy's Baker of the Year award. Every time her parents ate something that Poppy had made, they would close their eyes and sigh, then point at the photo and say, "Your great-granny Mabel would have been so proud of you." Occasionally, when Poppy had created something especially fabulous, she would get so excited that fireworks would explode out of the bowl, or perhaps a bouquet of rainbow-colored balloons would appear in the oven along with her latest creation. Whenever this happened, Poppy simply smiled and gave a shrug, because she didn't mind being magic, just so long as she could keep on baking. Alright, that's the end of the story. At the back of the book, there's a bunch of different recipes and simple baking tips. Some of those mention baking tips that have to do with the recipes. And once again, it takes way too long. Here, let me show you. I created the 2 Poppy's recommendations that actually have to do with the recipes. And here's how far I got on the first recipe. Yeah, I didn't get very far. It's just so long. Actually, I really recommend just skipping the step to putting it in the machine. On number 5, this is basically put the cookies onto cookie pans and then cook it. Yeah. One sec. You'll need to get them in about 1 teaspoon balls and then flatten them and then cook them. Because it says preheat, so it recommends 18 to 22 minutes. And yeah. So yeah. Okay. Well, anyway. Oh, whoops. I'm looking at the wrong recipe. Oh god, one sec. Okay, on this one, the only difference is you don't want it to be too flat. And you also remember the glaze from earlier? The glaze? Okay, the glaze you're gonna spread on top and then bake the cookies for 35 minutes or until it becomes a deep golden. And yeah, it also says cool on wire racks. Okay, well then, that's it. I hope you enjoyed. I'm sorry, but my god, it takes forever for that recipe to write out all these recipes. But anyway, thank you for listening. Okay. Anyway, thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed. And have a good day. Bye.